and this is Dabu 7 Underground World News Live, August 12th, 2016. And would you know it? As soon as I go live, I can hear an echo. We were just talking about this before we came on live.
Uh-oh. I'm muted.
And I want to thank everybody that's tuning in, everybody that was already here in the chat. Got quite a few things here to talk about tonight. Let some folks gather in. How you guys doing?
Very good, very good.
Doing awesome, man.
Pretty good.
We've got a lot of different headlines here lined up. And I guess we will start. We were just chatting here about stuff connected to the DNC. And I've left links, as always, in the description box for all this stuff. But they're saying Washington's now saying they're considering sanctions on Moscow over these DNC email leaks. So they're specifically, without a doubt, blaming Russia. They're blaming all this information that's coming out on Russia. And on the flip side of the coin, Russia, Vladimir Putin, just removed the Kremlin chief of staff from his duties. So there's some weird things going on. Also, I just put out a video pertaining to Ukraine with Russia and Crimea. Today, they said that Russia sent a whole set of the S-400s, I believe, missile systems into Crimea. And, I mean, they're hunkered down with weapons. And there's a new interactive map, if you guys haven't seen it, that's pretty cool. Pull it up, and it shows you everything that's happened, like in real time. If there's been a shooting or a shelling, if there's tanks on the move and someone caught a photo of it, a firefight, anything. You just click on the icons, and it will pull up a picture on the side and tell you what all is going on there. But apparently, Biden just got off the phone with Poroshenko. Poroshenko, who is the puppet leader in Ukraine, is saying that they're on the verge of going full-scale war. And last time he said this, he said it, and then they didn't. They came in and they started to crack down on people, and we saw the bloodshed, and really it's been war there ever since. Mainstream media just not talking about it. And in the eastern parts of Ukraine, not just Crimea, around Luhansk, in this region, there's fierce fighting going on, and most people have no clue that any of this is happening. And you have to remember that Russia took Crimea and snatched it from Ukraine after Ukraine fell, after all the insurgents came storming through and overthrow the elected government and ran the leadership out of the country, stole all the gold, and then brought in Monsanto and all this other stuff. But it's interesting it's Biden calling Poroshenko because Biden's son was put into like the highest position in one of the key businesses inside of Ukraine right now. And that's how they operate. They go in and take over countries, and when they do so, this opens the door for, it's like a game of Monopoly. I mean, you've taken over this whole region. You've got all the real estate. You can set up shop with businesses like they did with Monsanto. You can say the hell with their cash crop because Ukraine was the bread basket of this whole area, without a doubt. And this is also why Russia's burning all the produce at the border. And, you know, as far as not, you know, forcing GMOs upon the people, Russia's definitely not doing that. But it looks like the folks in Ukraine are falling victim to exactly what's happening to the rest of us. They'll just slide it on in there when they can. And apparently there's loads of it. Now that Monsanto's in Ukraine, loads of it being grown. So it's something to think about. That's going to affect economies, markets, harvests, all kinds of other things down the road as things start to pile up.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about this, I'm not sure when it's going to be, but I feel that NATO will try to snatch Crimea back at some point, and then that's when you're going to see some heavy war. So far, these guys have been teasing each other back and forth, but hey, that's why they call it the world stage, and that's why they call it a theater of war. Casey,
Yo.
what all you got on deck for this evening?
Well, let's go ahead and share screens for a minute here. It's pretty crazy because, you mentioned everything going on with this Monsanto and stuff. And, it's funny because here in California, we they do all these studies and stuff, right, on species and maintaining the species. And before anything can be built, they got to protect the tree frog and the snail and the smelt, the delta smelt. And you're not allowed to introduce any kind of foreign species into certain places and habitats and waters, right? But that's exactly what they're doing with this GMO stuff. And it's like, OMG, GMO is like basically perverting our supply of food. That's exactly what they're doing. This stuff is like a virus, and it gets into all the food, and it changes and genetically alters all of the food source. And that's okay.
It just happened in the Pacific Northwest up in Washington. Guys are like, how do I got GMO in my crops? And they're like, we don't know how.
Exactly.
I'm like, what? Yeah, right. They know how. It's simple. I mean, birds, the wind, it carries, and they can't stop that. That was warned about a long time ago, and you're starting to see it spread, and they can't stop that cross-pollination.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So,
What do you got here on the suction, man?
yeah, so for those of you that do come to my channel, you see that we make a lot of connections that no one else is really making. And so we were talking about this a little bit before the show started, and I'm like, dude, this suction man is the cupping that Michael Phelps had on his back. So then I look at the numbers, and I guess this guy went from the 5th floor to the 21st floor. That's 26 total, and Michael Phelps won 26 total gold medals. And he had this cupping on his back at the Olympics. So then I thought, okay, what's the point to this? The point is this man climbed the Trump Towers. So it's like they were harvesting some kind of subliminal satanic energy. I believe the glass represents like the water, right? The surface of the water, and the veil.
And
you always
mirrors
see,
it.
yeah. You always see in horror movies, they show water, and it's as above, so below. Below the water and above the water, right? And so this is basically what you're looking at spiritually right here, is Michael Phelps' back. 26 medals. And that's crazy. But I think it's the truth.
As far as the energy goes, the suction cup thing was seeded in the mainstream headlines. With that story and that story, it was both there. I haven't looked too deep into exactly how they had these on their bodies and the markings, but I think that may be interesting too, because it reminded me kind of the Kabbalah Tree of Life type of design on the back of that one.
Yeah, it seemed to be localized on this right shoulder. Like maybe that's the right hand, like the mark on the right hand,
For him.
Yeah. Wow. Crazy. Anyway, and for people that are skeptics of this stuff is real, you guys. So this is energy that maybe Donald Trump is trying to harvest because, okay, this guy's an Olympic gold medalist. He represents success, the games, the competition. We're about to enter into an election, so they're tying all this competitive spirit together. This guy's a hero and a champion and a renegade, and Trump's trying to harvest that energy, and he may have paid this guy to do this stunt, is my guess.
There's no telling. We were talking about some other people because for those that missed it, this guy that climbed put out a YouTube video beforehand, kind of looking off to the side of the camera. It's really kind of weird, and there were certain people that were already contacting him, like right when he dropped it. It was kind of like somebody that didn't have a lot of followers out there, just out of nowhere put a video up, and all of a sudden, for some reason, certain alleged alternative media outlets were already contacting him, and we're like, these are the same ones that stage events everywhere we go. Are they staging this too? Do they have something to do with this? Makes you wonder.
Yeah.
But, regardless, the guy tried to climb it, I guess, and he got plucked off. How did he not see them sitting there is another thing. The whole thing is kind of like, if I was going to go through all that trouble, you at least want to accomplish the whole feat, right? Didn't he have a banner or something in the backpack?
Right. Yeah, like he was
Didn't
saying.
he? I mean, because I thought the whole point was to climb up there and then release the banner, because he said in the video that he was doing this in hopes to be able to meet Trump in the campaign and all this other stuff. But it was, once again, it was for pro-Trump.
Right, exactly. And everything exists from the spiritual to the physical realm.
But, I almost wouldn't doubt that, in a sense that if Trump didn't have a play in the whole thing here. You see what I'm saying? Because the way that they're doing him in the mainstream media, you know what I'm saying? And with all these polls that you keep seeing, it's like all the stuff coming out in Hillary, and she still got a lead out in the polls. And it's just like they're really not – they try to paint the picture of Trump being crazy. And, I mean, it's watching the mainstream. They try to push Hillary out there. And it's like, okay, it's obvious who you guys are pushing here. So for them to create things to get attention, I wouldn't doubt it. We've seen it time and time again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it was to get attention. That's what the dude did.
Exactly. Yep, and here's the thing, like, okay, this ties into, sacrifice as well. People wonder, how could these people do this? Like, why would they sacrifice these people? This is real, you guys, because it's all about energy. They're harnessing energy off of deaths when someone dies. We saw with Christina Grimmie and how that tied into the whole Pulse nightclub shooting. We saw it with, I believe, with J-Lo when Selena was sacrificed, and J-Lo leapfrogged off of that and began her music career off of the movie Selena. And now we see this year, Selena would have been 44 years old this year, and now they're launching a Mac line. They're going to give her a star in Hollywood. All this stuff happens for a reason, you guys, and this is how they do sacrifice. Satan tries to do a bastardized version of sacrifice, and then that's supposed to put light onto Christ's sacrifice and then make us not believe in it, because we think, what kind of God would sacrifice his son? And so it's a hijacked version of the true holy sacrifice. And for those of you who have any questions in your mind, there is one and only Savior, which we all agree on in this program, and you can't get there by yourself. So there's some lies circulating about that. So we can clarify that. Christ consciousness is about being like Christ, Christ-like, and letting the Holy Spirit work in you, because you're actually following the example of Christ versus following the example of these pagan, ritualistic, religious entities. And that opens you up to the Holy Spirit, and then you ascend in a way that is here on earth. There is no other way off this planet except through Christ. And I think some people are trying to change our words around a little bit, and so I just wanted to clarify that.
Now, so someone out there allegedly claiming by name that they fight for freedom wanted to go out of the way to say that I said that I was Christ, which is ridiculous. Those words have never came out of my mouth. That's a bold-faced lie. Anyone out there wanting to spit bold-faced lies, it's going to come back to haunt you. I mean, first off, if anything was ever said, you should have had an audio clip to prove it, and you didn't, and you don't, and you won't. So,
I didn't know that you were that old, Dabu.
Shout-outs to everybody out there that's tuning in, everybody out there in the chat. She's got the mods in the house. And you know what's crazy? We were talking about Zika last time. Here just the other day, and I'm working on something here to see if I can't prove this or figure it out. What I'm doing is I'm tracking these planes that are going over, and they just sprayed here the other day, and they did it for Zika because someone was traveling about. They didn't say where, but they came back around here, and they have Zika. So because that person went somewhere else and got stuck and now has Zika, they decided to spray around here. What? It didn't make no sense. And they were doing it heavy, big time, so I started locking into these bad boys with the camera on the tripod and got to thinking, all right, I'm going to pull up flight radar. We had some luck when I was on deck last time running programs at the same time. We was able to catch that cat team tracking B up there. And I was like, maybe I'll have some luck here. Maybe if I can eyeball these flights going by, I can look at flight radar and we'll know if I can at least catch one that's chemtrailing that shows up, I can track the damn thing and see exactly where it's going finally. Okay, the problem is a lot of them don't even show up on flight radar. So what this also proves and shows is that when you're looking at flight radar and it looks like nothing's there, oh yeah, there's stuff there. That means that these are definitely being made secret, kept hidden, and you'll see the ones with no call signs and all that other stuff. But what's important here, and I'm daring some of you guys out there to try this, if you can just catch one of these that's Kimming and get an identification on it and see where it lands in a base or where it stops and stalls out, because sometimes it might not be in an official airport or anything like that. That's key, because then we can for sure know that you just tracked a chemtrail plane down to this spot, this facility. Then guess what? We're hopping in the car and we're going there. That's when things change. You see, we're gonna bust this at some point. We're gonna do it. It's gonna happen, unless they kill me. But somebody will do it. Somebody will do it here eventually. It'll be done. You'll see the footage.
Yeah.
Also, I want to let it be known, all the links for the stuff we're talking about in the description, as I'm Xing some of these out. And you might see executive order in the title of this. We have a series of new executive orders that just kind of slid in here, dated for today. And this is interesting because it says providing an order of secession within the Department of Treasury. Now, it repeats this. The next one says providing an order of secession within the Department of Veteran Affairs. The next one, providing an order of secession within the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. And then there was another one that was something that was written that was saying the same thing. But check this out. What this is saying is, all right, I'm going to read some of it. It says, subject to the provisions of Section 3 of this executive order, the officers named in Section 2 in the order listed shall act as and perform the functions and duties of the office of the Secretary of Treasury during any period in which both the Secretary and the Deputy Secretary of the Treasury have died, resigned, or are otherwise unable to perform this function. This is assigning next man step up duties by executive order to replace the top tier cats in the Treasury, in the Department of Veteran Affairs, and in the EPA. All in the same day. And it makes some wonder, I mean, it almost sounds like they're expecting all these people to die or disappear. Isn't that a bit odd? By executive order?
Yep.
So, and there's links. You can go to whitehouse.gov and look into this. It's clear. It's exactly what it says. It just makes you wonder, all right, what are they expecting here? Some are relating it to war. Others want to talk Russia and all this other stuff, but I personally believe anything that's going to happen here, it's going to be done by the same hands that did every other false flag event. That's why we say Illuminati.
Yep.
Got any other stories there, Casey?
Well, yeah, I mean, Florida, man. I mean, Florida's been under attack. It was crazy, as you guys, most of you know. I went there a couple months ago before all this went down on kind of an impulse. Found out later I was going to be able to check out a location that I found in a movie, a GPS location. It was stated in a movie called Midnight Special. Did a little documentary on it. After that happened, it's like Florida went into chaos. They had Christina Grimmie, Kimbo Slice got taken out, Pulse nightclub shooting. They had the
Didn't
kid.
Pulse happen? Didn't Pulse happen literally like right the day you were leaving? That you just left?
The day I was leaving, I think what happened was the kid got eaten by the alligator, or was it Obama was at the golf course where maybe it was a few days out. No, it was the military training exercise that was going on in Tampa Bay that you covered. That was the day I left.
That's it.
Yeah. So, and now we have Zika, and it's like Florida is under attack. Now, some of the stuff we covered in the documentary that I did was all about 9/11 and like some kind of event, and it just seemed like right after that, like Florida just fell into chaos. So prayers go out to the folks in Florida. I know some of you guys are in the chat tonight, and just prayers for you guys, and stay safe out there, and try to stay out of the way, I guess.
Well,
Yeah. Go ahead, Centurion.
they have trucks coming out. They just issued a pre-dawn warning for that the trucks are going to all come out in Miami area, and they're going to spread the entire city.
Yeah, I've seen them do some spraying down there.
Right now.
Well, I wonder exactly what they're spraying. The excuse is Zika, 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 but what if that's all they need is an excuse to come in and just start dumping stuff all over everybody?
Yeah, they're spraying Dibron, which backwards spells morbid, like death. This is the chemical they're freaking spraying on the mosquitoes.
They're saying from the Sun Sentinel that fleets of pesticide spray trucks head out for pre-dawn sprays. That's all that they're saying.
Yep. People just take this stuff, and I don't know what it's going to take to wake people up. I mean, there's only so much that we can do to address this stuff, and it's got to get to the point where people stop trusting the officials, and they stop trusting just hands down everything that's just forced upon us. And we just need to stop accepting this.
Yeah. System needs to be reset, a righteous one, based on corruption.
Yep.
Well, whatever they're spraying is affecting all the seabirds. There's 300 seabirds that washed up dead on Florida shores on July 28th. There's 20 tons of fish that died in the Everglades so far.
Yeah.
So whatever they're spraying, it's not good.
Yep. Man. And then we had this disturbing video that came out, this CERN thing that definitely was a hoax. You guys.
Well, I was going to say they can't take away from what CERN is. CERN itself is, we've talked about it a million times, what they're doing there in the science.
Oh yeah.
We've talked about dimensions, time travel, portals, anything and all that. And there's not just CERN, there's multiple places like that around the globe. We've talked about that as well.
Yep, satanic ritual abuse is real, and not in this instance, but it is real.
That's mock.
Right, and what it does is it discredits all the other real abuse going on when we accept the fake stuff. I know that I've seen many videos that you've done, Dabu, on satanic abuse. We know it's real, and
People make mistakes too.
yeah, exactly.
No, we all make mistakes. You know, it's there's a difference. Like I said, there's a difference between somebody making an honest mistake, sharing something they did not know, and someone doing something intentional. You see? That's what it comes down to.
That satanic ritual was just a hoax, though.
Yeah, I mean, that was my point. Yeah, and there are mock rituals that are still in they're out there trying to do their satanic crap. But the fact is this, no one dies. You know, and that needs to be made clear, I think, first and foremost, is that it was a mock, you know, that no one really died, you know, because no one died.
Well, I did some research on that video. That wasn't even on CERN property.
What do you mean?
It had nothing to do with CERN. It wasn't on their property at all.
Where that big thing of Shiva sits?
Whoever made that video, that's false.
Where does the big statue of Shiva sit then?
I can research it for you, but
I thought it sat right there on the property at CERN.
It does. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
Shiva's at the property at CERN, yeah.
Look
I did alignment on it.
Second.
That Shiva actually lines up to something when you draw a straight line right through the center of that circle.
I remember that. That's how I know it's there.
Yeah.
It's there.
I'm going to mute myself for a second. I'll be right back.
That's fine. But my point was this: and it doesn't matter what CERN says. It doesn't. You know, it doesn't. It doesn't matter. You know what they say. Yeah, they released a statement saying that it was a spoof and this and that, and yeah, they could lie and they could do all this other crap, and yeah, the place is with everything we talked about. But the fact is, I guess the main point with that whole story was that no one had died, and that's what I wanted to clarify. And I know other people had seen it, and that was the confusing part. That's what I wanted to clarify, because other people were sharing it, they were not knowing. And I know some people shared it not knowing. It's not your fault. You know, things, it happens. But my job is to just keep it as real as I can, and if I'm not, then I'm not. I mean, that's why I exist here, to be real. So I can just shut my mouth and not say nothing, or I'm going to give it to you real.
I apologize. I was wrong. Yeah, it is there.
That's
and
fine.
They say it was a gift from India.
Yeah, we've talked about that. We've looked at that exact Shiva statue there, and I think it was it Time? I don't know if it was Time magazine or what, where Obama was in a stance like Shiva. Remember that, Casey?
Oh, yeah.
Had his leg up, had all the multiple arms. Same thing.
I would be more worried about the mini black holes that they're creating at CERN, though, more than that statue. Because they're all arguing over these mini black holes, and when they actually collide the particles in CERN, and they make these, they don't go away right away. They live in existence for anywhere between 5 to 7 minutes. These miniature black holes.
Well, and they cause earthquakes. We saw Dabu. I mean, man, what an amazing discovery you made last week when you documented the first pattern earthquake and then a second pattern earthquake emerged. And
I couldn't believe I caught a second one. That was kind of crazy.
Man.
That tells you right there. And it was in a whole different area. But in California, it was southern the first time and like kind of north central the second time. And yeah, there's definitely a pattern there, man. And that's making you wonder, you know, like, what are they doing here?
And the pattern's not it's a checkerboard. It's at a 90-degree angle. So in other words, if you draw a line connecting those dots, it will hit the North Pole. If you draw a line horizontally, it will go parallel to the equator. Earthquakes don't happen like that. And this was a full grid pattern.
Right.
Twice. Now, I know some of the bigger channels are picking this up. Someone had asked me, I think it was Truth Stream Media, asked me to use some of my stuff. I should have just forwarded them on because you were the one that found it. But I know other big channels are picking this up because this is huge. I mean, this is undeniable at this point. Not once, but twice now this has happened. Pattern earthquake.
Well, it shows it can be weaponized.
Oh, yeah.
And not only that, the weather is being weaponized too.
Exactly.
Well, that's by the X-band that's floating out there in the ocean.
What's that?
I sent you the info on the X-band barge. And they steered Hurricane Erick with that. Did you see the video I sent you on that?
No, I don't. No, I did not. That's interesting. Because
Well,
I've always wanted to know, what would be at the heart of some of these storms on the ground. They're controlling it from the sea, from different platforms, from the air, radar. Are they hitting it with bursts of heat? Because we've talked about HARP. We know how HARP functions. We know they hit the upper ionosphere with a wave of heat. If you inject heat in anything, you can fuel it, especially a massive storm, and essentially steer it.
Well, what the barge does is it's like HARP, except it's floating. It's called the Big Golf Ball. And
I've seen it.
Right, they can project an X-band waveform at the storm and actually steer it anywhere that they want to. I have tons of video on it.
No, you're right, because you were sending me images of them suspending a wave in the air.
Yeah.
They were taking waves and suspending them in the air. And this is what we've talked about in the past, and it was crazy when you sent me those images because I was like, what? This is exactly what we've talked about before. Because there's been reports of even sailors on ships saying that they looked out and thought a tsunami or a rogue wave was coming their way, and it was just a standing tall thing of water, like somebody had grabbed it and suspended it in the air and held it there, and then it just went back down and was gone. There was no wave that came through or nothing. It was like, whoa.
Well, Flowtech has the technology now through the X-band system to make a wave out on the water or in a controlled environment, wherever with X-band technology. They can actually make it dance out there. They can control this wave. They can move it backwards, forwards, sideways, and
that means that they can stop tsunamis.
Oh yeah.
They're not doing it. Well, at least they're not.
And stop them.
Right. Well, I think of the 7.6 that just hit yesterday, downgraded to a 7.2, hit very shallow out there in the Pacific,
and there was Loyalty Islands.
Yeah, Loyalty Islands. It was initially said they've had a tsunami that went out with it locally, a tsunami alert, but then there was like nothing. Like they didn't even report like nothing. And now that I think about it, I'm like, well, that's a perfect example. If you can cause an earthquake, like we just talked about, and you can send the tsunami into a direction, and then you've got the technology to stop the waves, well, let's test it. Let's pop off an earthquake, and let's stop the tsunami. Well, hell, you don't even need an earthquake then to cause a tsunami.
Yep.
But you could have an earthquake hit somewhere and use that weapon and send a tsunami toward wherever right behind it, and no one would know the difference.
Well, you know the USA is not the only one that's playing with the weather, right?
All right.
I sent you a map of all the stations that are HARP locations. That actually Russia has higher technology than the USA as far as doing earthquakes, tsunamis, weather control. They don't even need to spray anymore. There's no chemical spraying anymore.
All right. When it comes to the thermal vents out in the oceans, this is where the plates are pushing up and tearing apart. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge, Pacific Ridges, all those different ridges. This is where all that's coming up and pushing out and it's tearing apart. All this energy is being released. Because I've watched this in some of the videos that you had sent me too. You know, I forget what the island was, what the volcanic island was, but it was a good documentary going in depth about it, and it was showing the basalt and everything being created there, and how the trenches, keep flowing. This is where all these volcanoes are. They're just underwater along these trench lines. But I got to thinking about, I'm like, look at the massive amounts of energy that are coming out of there.
Oh,
What if you could
crazy.
harness that energy?
Oh yeah, I mean, and think about this. Think about the implications of weaponized earthquakes. Now we can start to think about all of the major earthquakes and tsunamis and the death tolls. Millions of people died. We can think about maybe the implications of a directed energy earthquake underneath maybe the World Trade Center Twin Towers. It could have assisted in making them fall. Like, this stuff goes.
You wonder because we've talked about that before, because of what is built there where the Twin Towers are. I don't think people realize that there is constant water being poured there. There's where the stuff went off underground down there, it is constantly being hit with water. They make it look like it's all scenic and set up and nice and all this stuff. It's a waterfall and this and that, but the reality is they're constantly pumping water down into this hole, constantly. And I thought about it before. Somebody said that they wouldn't allow you to get in there with it. But if anyone in New York City can get down to that spot, and you're allowed to have a rad detector out in public, and I don't see why you couldn't, somebody stick it on a fishing pole and drop it down in that damn hole and get some readings. That will tell us a whole lot. No one's done it.
Now they want to start using plasma bombs to control the weapon with HARP.
Speaking of HARP, I'm not too sure if you guys have heard, but the HARP facility, the big one that's in Alaska, was shut down since 2014. Well, they're going to be reopening it next year, and it's supposed to be having upgrades.
Yeah. It's changed hands because of funding several times, and ups, downs. It was said to be down and was actually up and owned and operated by somebody, and it switched hands from government agencies to, what was it, it was Alaska. Wasn't it the University of Alaska?
Yeah, it's under the ownership of University of Alaska Fairbanks.
Right.
Right, but that's not the only HARP facility out there in Alaska either.
Right.
There's 4 other ones.
That's just one array.
One of the bigger ones.
Right, and the more famous. Yeah, but that brings me to another point here. We were talking about this last week, Eric. We were talking about West Virginia. We were talking about Baltimore getting hit with torrential amounts of rain out of nowhere, and how all the hills were right there, you know? How it's all, you know how the area is situated. All the water runoff turned the streets into rivers.
Speaking of that, I find it so strange remember how Baltimore had that massive flooding? Well,
Yeah.
Baton Rouge is having the same exact thing right now.
Right now. I know.
Over 20 inches.
I know, and many of the rivers are going to hit a record crest level. I put a video out probably 20, 30 minutes before we came on. It was talking about just that, a state of emergency. There was a guy that got killed, 68-year-old guy trying to escape. There's evacuations. And it's just, man, I showed some footage. I mean, parking lots and everything else look like lakes. You know, it's crazy. All this rain coming in. In southern Louisiana, especially New Orleans, all this is below sea level. So you have to keep that in mind, too.
Hey, Dabu. As far as HARP goes, the U.S. Air Force next month are going to try to improve, quote-unquote, radio communications, but that's not what it's for. They're going to detonate plasma bombs in the upper atmosphere. I'm sorry, I can't talk tonight.
It's all right.
By using a fleet of micro-satellites.
I don't doubt it.
Right?
I'd love to be able to get some footage and see this stuff going down.
I'll send it to you on the drive.
Where's that supposed to be being conducted at?
Up in Alaska. And I'll send you the complete details on it, Debu.
Heck yeah. Well, I've got two more stories here. Speaking of weather, since we're on it, one dealing with the reservoirs at their lowest levels in 27 years, and this is in Los Banos in California.
That's where I live.
Are you kidding me?
Well, close by there, Los
San Luis
Banos.
Reservoir?
Yeah, that's about, well, it's about 2 hours north of me.
That's pretty close.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're showing that it's dry, you know, and record levels, man. And I just keep thinking, you out there sitting in that room baking with no air conditioner.
With frozen pitchers of ice in front of a fan as my air conditioner.
I got to get it done. That's just shows you that it's not. I mean, have you been up into that area lately to see the drought with your own eyes, or?
Oh yeah, man, it's bad, dude. It's like all of my fishing lakes on the coast here are pretty much empty. They're like below 15%.
Well, man, you need to go get some footage.
I know, exactly. Kachuma Lake, they did this huge emergency project. They had to move the intake pipe, and it was all on the down low. It wasn't in the newspapers, but I was up there fishing, and they were out there with barges and everything else in this lake. And then they were sucking water out of the aqueduct, which is all the way over the coastal mountains. They were sucking water out of the aqueduct. See, money talks, and Santa Barbara has a bunch of money. So they were getting water pumped in one part of the dam and sucking it. It's sick, man.
Are we hearing potential live coverage?
Wow, that would be good. Yeah, I could go down there and get some live coverage. I think there's cell service down there.
Just pick a couple key spots. Look at the worst places hit. Find one that does have some decent service, and start off there. And whatever you can work into your schedule there, and get out to.
Yeah, I'll dovetail with the fishing trip.
Well, I mean, if you're on your way to a spot, you know, one that's maybe along the way, some way, maybe a little bit out of the way, but along the way, try to knock out two birds with one stone.
Yeah, can I do that off my iPhone 4?
Should be able to. Go through Camerafire or Emoji.
Emoji, all right. Hey, there you go.
Yeah, give you a good chance to get familiar with the live stream app anyway, and get it going, and just let us know when you're going to do it, and we'll mod for you. And it'd be cool just to see some live footage from out there.
Yeah,
Cali's a place I've never been, and I've been out there in Nevada.
Yeah.
I was calling it Nevada forever, and people are like, man, they hate that. Don't say it. I'm like, man, what Nevada?
This
what? It's Nevada. I'm like, okay, Nevada. I'm sorry. Gosh.
Yeah, this drought ain't going away. Okay, you guys, this is a man-made drought. If you look at maps of the high-pressure ridge that comes down, and the Gulf Stream and the Arctic blast that comes down out of the north, what they've done is they've sucked down the Arctic, and then what it's done is created a high-pressure, basically a permanent high-pressure system. There's a channel out there that covered this. I think his name was, dang it, a guy up in, I think in Seattle, and he's covered a lot of this weather warfare, and he showed trends and maps. He's got it all documented, how there's a permanent high-pressure system over the Sierras. You seen that? Yeah.
Yes.
So here's the creepy thing. Remember, everything's on a spiritual level. The high-pressure system, when you couple that and compare it to the Arctic, what do they call it, a vortex, they call it a polar vortex, it looks like a giant yin and yang over the entire United States. And that's spiritual right there, you guys. That's the 69. We're in the year 69.
Show that visual too, man. You got to do that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, let me look for it while you guys keep talking.
You don't have to do it now. I'm just saying it'd be a good separate video to kick out the show if you could show the visual of that. I mean, controlling the jet stream is controlling everything at this point. And you've got the drought out there. I've also got another link in the description here about an epic Middle East heat wave. It's being compared to a weapon of mass destruction. Right along the lines of what we're talking about.
I just sent you a link on Twitter and a message. That's for those plasma bombs, if you want to look at it. And
gotcha.
share it with the viewers.
Yeah, I'll drop it in the chat here. Open it real quick here. Yeah, and I'll have to read up on that here in a little bit. I appreciate you sending me all that info. Period. It looks like, let me see here. It might have Sheepdog Patriot might want to jump in with us here for a second. He said, see if I can't get him a link here. He's got info dealing with the weather. Just shot him the link. If you're out there, Sheepdog, jump on in and join us here for a second.
A quick update on Baton Rouge's rainfall. They've had 21.4 inches so far.
I mean, yeah, controlling the weather, you're controlling a lot of things, and man, I just can't help but think, like, we always talk about all this stuff, being prepared, and a lot of people trying to do the best they can, and using discernment to see through all the BS. So many fear tactics dropped out there. But one thing I've been really thinking about in terms of, because you always think food, right? What are we going to do when it hits me? You have to have food, you have to have water, like the basics. But another thing everyone's going to need is medicine. And we've really been thinking about this because I've got good friends and family. They're diabetic. And I know that when the banks close, the pharmacies close. And I know that they only all get at most a 30-day supply of their medicine. And some of them, without it, will be dead. And that concerns me. Big time. And it's something to think about. I'm sure you all know someone out there that has some kind of medication, whether it's heart medication, some kind of medicines. You have to think about that. Keep that in mind, because I've been discussing it with people here, trying to wake up some people like, what are you going to do when it hits the fan? Like, you're diabetic, talking to my buddy Jimmy. He's like, I'll go as long as I can until I'm dead. He's like, my daughter's the same way. Same type, and I'm just like, I don't. You got to do something. Have a plan. You know about it. You see where it's sitting. He's just like, well, what can we do? And I've been looking into it, into trying to do something, a route to where people can obtain medicines and certain things in bulk, because I know in certain instances you have to, and I'm not talking like narcotics or anything like that. I'm talking just medicines, minerals, things you need to survive, healing stuff, antibiotics, things of that nature. It's something to think about, because somebody brought it up to me, like, you guys never talk about it, and you're going to need it, and they were right. And then once I got to thinking about it, got to talking about it with everyone else, I really got to looking and thinking that when the day comes, whenever it is, and I'm serious, when the day comes, whenever it is, 5 years, 10 years, 5 days, 10 days, doesn't matter when, all these people I know are going to be affected dramatically. And each and every one is going to be a different situation. Life or death. So I want everyone to think about that. Because it's real. I see it.
Well, there's been a lot of rumors, Taboo, of a nuclear incident before the election.
There's a lot of rumors always about all this crap, But
some of it, I've got to say, is fairly credible.
Well, I just talked about those executive orders that were put out today. I keep thinking about, why would they be putting out executive orders commanding these people to step up and replace these key people? It's just kind of weighing on me like this isn't a joke or one. This came from whitehouse.gov. This is what they're calling for, people to step up if the Treasury and the Deputy Treasury die or they're not there to do their job. Why would they not be there to do their job? Why would the Veteran of Affairs not be there? Why would the leader of the EPA not be there? Why would all these people not be there?
That's a good point.
Makes me wonder why all the Khazarian Jews were not in the Twin Towers on 9/11. It's a fact. Just think about it. Who else isn't going to be there when the next attack comes? Tall tale signs if you're watching. All on Jesuit command, but nobody out there wants to talk about that. And they want to come and say Dabu's a shill. Working for the Jesuits or the Zionists when I'm sitting here calling them out. It's funny because through the mainstream media, all they want to do is blame Muslims, this, ISIS, that, what they created when it comes to the Twin Towers. They never want to talk about the Mossad agents that were jumping up and down next to the van. Okay. Ain't no secret.
Scripted messages by the. I released a video out there that they had scripted messages from an American director who was supposed to be directing this ISIS guy speaking, and you know, most of this shit's all scripted. Oh, I'm sorry, maybe I can't say shit out here.
No, you can feel free to do whatever, man.
But you know, I see a lot of things, and a lot of this is all scripted.
A lot is. A lot of it is. It's all scripted, man. We were talking about it earlier. Even some of these other people. I mean, we've been in the streets in all these cities, and we've seen it. I mean, other people are seeing it. Thankfully, they're like, man, this ain't right. This stuff looks set up. This looks staged. It looks like these guys planned this. Well, welcome. You woke up today. You know, like, thankfully, you know, more people are seeing it. Key people, because other key people that see it can spread that message. You know, and that's what it's about. We're supposed to be in this together at unity. I can't help but say this. I see so much hatred and jealousy and hating out there from people. It's just sick. It is. So many backstabbers out there out for themselves. It's a cruel world we live in. And did you know that King Solomon was a wizard? Did you know that King Solomon controlled demons? No one else talks about this. You're not going to hear about this on your mainstream media, so buckle up. Did you know that the Jews, the Muslims, and the Christians all see him as a divine prophet? King Solomon, where the temple is, the Temple Mount, he controlled the angels of the Goetia.
Oh, look at the scrolls that they just found.
Well, this kind of links to that, because the truth about the Knights Templar and the reason they had all the fortune and fame that they had is because they found the secrets of King Solomon, the magic spells, at the Temple Mount. Now, your History Channel and everything else is going to feed you a lie and say it was the chalice of whatever or this and that. It wasn't. There's a reason why they were going around the globe and everyone was adorning them with gold and everything. You just don't get that for nothing. They were talking to the demons. They were exorcising these demons. Demons and the whole hierarchy of the angels. The whole story is written and laid out if you just go read it. It's told in Kings in your Bible. It's told in many different scriptures. And it's overlaying the same story that he was a wizard and that he had brought in for that area 666 talents of gold for the wealth. That's what he had casted out. Curious number, isn't it? And guess what else? Guess what gave him this power? An amulet. An amulet, and also a ring. And there's a story behind the ring too. And the ring was fastened with a symbol. And it's that same symbol that you see as the Star of David that Israel uses. This symbol gave him the power to control them. Then, one day, the king of all these spirits was summoned and captured. And when he was captured, they ended up pulling a trick. And what had happened is a guy got thrown in a bottle, the whole genie in the bottle story, thrown it out in the ocean. Fisherman found it, let him loose. He came through, he tricked him, and he threw the ring in the ocean, and a fish swallowed it. So Solomon goes wandering. He gets outcasted from the land by the king that was there and is sent with the king's daughter to wander the desert to die. So they find their way to a small town, city down by the water, and they find a fish to eat. Just so happens it was the same fish, and he got his ring back, and he had the power to talk and control these spirits. He was the master of all of it. He was a wizard. They're not telling you this. This is what's happening right now today, and no one is going to tell you this. No channel will talk about this. None of them that I've come across. And this is the secret, because they continue this today on all of us through the mainstream media, in the streets, in these protests, at these big rallies for Trump and Hillary, all of it. It is through occult sigil magic. That is the truth that none of them will tell you.
72 demons of the Goetia is the 722 demons of Pokemon.
Oh, you don't know what you're talking about, Bill. I don't. No, nobody said that. I'm just waiting for it. I'm just waiting for it. You go do your research. Dabu, ask your doctor if Xanax is right for you. You need a nerve pill. Chill down, man. Take a hit off the bong. You need a shot or something. Can't you? No one wants to laugh? Y'all let that up tight? Come on. You have to find a way to laugh through all this and to keep your chin up, because we're constantly getting screwed and backstabbed. Constantly, on a daily. They hate me because I expose this. This is the key to it all. When all of you figure out what they're doing, you break their spell, and it's game over. Then you're free. You better be ready to go to war. Because ain't nothing going to come for free. Maybe there's good reason why there's an executive order now to replace these people. It's starting to make sense. Maybe the people should start paying attention and get ready to replace them with your own people. I mean, I don't know what kind of a big red flag, if it ain't, when they start saying by executive order, people are going to have to start stepping up. If people don't show up to work and if they're dead or something, man, you guys got to step up. Where are they all going? You just shut up and do your job. All right, you want to take the promotion? That's how it all is to the military and everything. You shut up, you do your job, you do what you're told, and you're only told what you need to know. There's something coming, and it's by the same hands that brought down them towers. I'm telling you, it's coming. They've got it planned. I don't know what, when. I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm telling you, and it's all going to be in the name of that. That's why you've seen faces of demons in the Twin Towers when they smoked them. I mean, it's real. It's so real. You should go back. You wonder why they talk about Aleister Crowley and all this crap? It's because Aleister Crowley's the one that came back and redid King Solomon's Goetia.
Well, for those people that don't know, I believe Brookhaven had something to do with these towers falling. I just tweeted not too long ago. I counted. There's 28 points around 3 different rings at Brookhaven. These are particle accelerator rings. There's 28 points on those rings. Why is it that the World Trade Center stood for 28 years and there's 28 points on 3 rings, the 3 rings that make up the grounds of Brookhaven National Laboratory? Why does one of those rings, the biggest ring, when you align 2 of the points, point directly to ground zero? I mean, these are credible questions.
Right.
Because we need to be in a security state. And when they blew up the Twin Towers, the airplanes did not cause the towers to fall. You do know that, correct?
Right. Oh, psh.
It was wired. It was
no,
big,
man.
it was blown up.
No, man. Come on. You can see every damn floor of the windows getting blown out every bit of the way.
Yeah, why did Biggie Smalls sing about blowing up the World Trade?
That's because it was attacked beforehand. I will attest to that. The first time it was hit,
Yeah.
blown up like the World Trade, but it wasn't blown up in mass though. It really didn't do much of anything.
Let's see when that song came out. Maybe there's some clues in the dates that was pointing forward to 9/11.
It was to prepare us for a security state. That's what it was. There is all kinds of archives out there where Bin Laden had met with the U.S. government multiple times. There's footage of it. And there was no reason why Building 7 fell other than it was.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They made the decision to pull it. They said that live on air. To pull it. You can only pull it if it's laced with explosives. And that should tell you the other two were laced too. 9/11 was an inside job. And beyond that.
Like when the Pentagon supposedly got hit by either a rocket or an airplane.
Oh, no, that was by one of them little Predator drone type deals. It came swooping in and blew a hole in the side like a missile that came through. One of the missiles with wings that flew through at low altitude.
That's why all the materials from the towers are all classified.
That's why the roof was still intact when the Pentagon was hit. There's no way.
And then all the money became missing after that.
Gosh, man, people ought to be able to look back right now and like, what in the hell has happened here? They pulled off the biggest charade in like all of history on all the people here in 2001, and it was just like, I'm hoping people see it now, because, man.
And today in 2016, you are more monitored than you ever were before 2001.
Oh yeah, it's like eagle eye.
Every movement that you do are all monitored. Just like you down there. The minute you met that military guy on top of that installation where you drove into, you were being monitored.
Yeah. And what's crazy is we caught them doing it. That's crazy. It's just crazy.
Are you ready for this?
What?
Blow up like the World Trade.
Yeah.
Juicy released 33 days before 9/11 in the year that it released in 1994. It released on the 222nd day of the year in leap years of the 144 days remaining.
And that's not always by his decision. You have to understand, in the music industry, even with Def Jam, go look and do your research. They will take your album and they will put it in the light of the moon. They will charge it with the light and the power and the energy of a full moon, and they drop on specific dates.
Yep.
They do this for energy reasons, alignment reasons, and for things that they know and that the rest of the people don't.
Yep. Yeah, these guys don't know. A lot of them don't know what's going on, but
it's just like any other Masonic thing. They learn as they climb the rankings, so they're just left in the dark, and if they don't buy into it, they're knocked off.
Yeah. That's why they killed him, probably. Probably woke up.
But yeah, I mean, it's all crazy, and all you can do is have a plan. That's all I've ever said. Is if anything, whether it's a meteorite hitting or a volcano going off or an earthquake or a staged event, have a plan. That's the biggest thing. You hear it all the time, but I'm serious. Sit down, talk with some family and friends. Start engaging in something, man, about what are we going to do if this happens, or if this nut does this or this and that. We got to have a plan. You know, like I said before, about having the food supplies and everything else. In medicine, that's key. And I did come across the link here for Essential Drugstore. I'll leave it in the description box along with this other link here about the heat wave in Iraq. But you have to have a plan. And really, we can sit here and talk about it all day. It's about you spreading the word and actually doing it. Doesn't take
But,
much to
Boo,
sit down and think and to put things in motion. And what I mean is just to have meeting places, with friends and family. Something happens and the phones don't work. Serious, man. Like, I'm about to get out here and just do it myself. Like, well, what do you do when your cell phone doesn't work or the house phone doesn't work? You have no line of communication. There's no internet. The lights are out. You can't get nowhere. What do you do? Like, you got to think about that, man.
everybody should have a bug out bag. At least a 3-day bug out bag. I don't care who you are, where you live, what you do for a living. Everybody should spend at least $100 on a bug out bag.
Yeah, I mean, you got to start somewhere. And we've talked about the bug out bag stuff before. I've talked about the weights, different stuff. It all comes down to the people. But food's one thing. Once you really start trying to prepare, you're going to see that it's not just food, but it's ammunition, it's blankets. It's everything that you've got. You've got to carry on your back or find a way to carry. And that's when people come in handy. And that's when you're going to learn quickly that your odds are way better with people versus trying one or two of you to run up to the mountains and survive in a bunker or a cave. Because you'll get picked off easy and quick. Your best chances of survival is to mount up with as many people as possible, as strong as possible, and to know your terrain and your neck of the woods. I mean, you already do better than anyone else anyway, so you have that to your advantage. Power's in your numbers.
United we stand, divided we fall.
Yeah. Division by chaos is their motto. Want to thank everybody that's tuned in here tonight. We get ready to shut it down. Also want to thank everyone that's been supporting us on our Kickstarter campaign. Even those that can't financially, those, I promise you, those that send the prayers, it's worth more than the funding. It is, whether it's successful or not. Okay? What's going to make it successful, if it is through the positive energy of that spirit anyway. And shout outs to everyone out there that's got our back. There's always haters, man. If you ain't got haters, you ain't doing something right. And look, people make mistakes. I for one don't like to hold grudges against people, but I'm gonna call out bullshit when I see it. It's my duty to do it. And we're gonna keep on marching here with the Kickstarter. I'm gonna do an update tomorrow, hopefully specifically just on that, on just some of the details and some thanks and shout outs and update on where it's sitting. All we can do is give it our all. That's all I can do is give it my all. And in the end, this will serve as a true testament to where this all sits. Okay? Because I've already known for the longest time. I mean, the people that have our back, we know there's a group. And most of you that are tuned in, that always tune in on Friday night, it's like it's a sole group of people that are always there for us. And it doesn't matter the number of subs on a channel or anything like that. What matters is meeting the real. And it's a lot of you that are listening right now. And I love you guys, straight up. Some of you may not hear that as much as you need to. May haven't heard it in a while. I love you. For real. Something's got to change. You got to stay positive. That's what we're going to do against all odds. I want to thank everybody once again that showed up here tonight. You guys got anything to say or close with here? Any stories or shout outs, anything like that before we shut it down?
Well, we got to go from negative to positive, as the song says, and I like that. I want to just give a shout out to everybody in the chat and let you know to come over to my channel on Sunday morning. We're going to do a live show. We're going to have you guys, it's going to be open mic morning. You can pop in. The topic will be Alice in Wonderland syndrome. Anyone who's experienced this in your childhood, or you're about to go to sleep and you look across the room and everything looks really small, this is real. It's happened to a lot of people, including myself and my son. come out. We're going to talk about it. I got some scientific studies pulled up, and we're going to see how this relates to the pineal gland and melatonin.
All right. Eric?
Yeah, and directly after Casey's show on Sunday, I'll be having a show as well on my channel. It's called the Sunday Truth Lounge. We just debuted it last week, and everybody's free to join in. If you like a link, just message me. I'll send you a link. It's pretty open.
Hell yeah, I missed that one. Definitely wish I could be in a lot of you guys' live streams. You know, I know the gals have just kicked some stuff off on Thursday. Leah, shout out to K Small, the mods, rest of them out there. Yeah, and shout outs to B Rich. He couldn't make it here tonight. I know he's been listening in. Shout outs to Yeshua's Chosen. American Citizen, Paul Panda, 333, Way Rowdy, Scotland Justice, Skeeto Punk, Sean Tracy, Thomas Tube, My Truth, American Citizen, John Smith, Craigsvolk, Pete, Hawaii, Paul, Segu, Shadow, Dutton, Johnny, Valentina, Guitar. Much love to all you guys. Lee Breezy, Rita G, Jody, much love. All the real cats out there. Thomas, I mean, it's just taking off now. Rita G, fast-paced. It's exactly what the chat is right now. Joanne Steen. All you guys. Alex, Matt, we're about to shut it down. Thanks for tuning in with us here on this Friday night. Next week, for show, we're going to be on Casey's channel. End of the Stars. We'll do it over there. So if you see me put out a video saying my channel, I'm going to tell you now, it's on Casey's channel. Sometimes I accidentally do that. But much love, guys. And we will see you on the flip side. Peace.